When the president talks about this being a national security issue, no, it really isn't. It's about a policy that is discriminatory as to where people are coming into this country.
Corporal Ronald Singh's family, who ended up losing him to a illegal immigrant who ended up shooting him over in your state. Would you say this to families who had lost relatives to heroin overdoses?
I would say to families like that is what I say to the president regularly. These are tragic situations. There's a tragic situation at the border. 2 little children died. But the plural of anecdote is not data. And as painful and horrible, one death is more than we should be able to bear, whether it's the corporal or whether it's the children.
I want to tell Nancy Pelosi, just because you don't want to acknowledge that we exist does not mean that you're telling the truth.
Well, families of victims killed by illegals pushing back after Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi appeared to say their stories are not enough to call the border a crisis. Joining me now is an angel wife to tell her story. Dawn Witherspoon, we welcome you to the show. You know, Dawn, we're so sorry for your loss and what you and your family have endured. Can you tell us first what happened to your husband?
So my husband was a paramedic. He was on his way back to the station at about 3 o'clock in the morning on June 1st of 2017. Him and his partner had just gotten done running a call. They were on their way back to the station, and a drunk driver that was here illegally pulled in front of the ambulance with no regard to anybody else. And my husband's ambulance flipped over, and he and his partner both lost their lives in that accident.
Was that individual responsible for this? Had he been apprehended before by law enforcement?
So it's a little hard to tell about his record, but he has been pulled over numerous times. He had touched law enforcement numerous times. So he has, you know, definitely had contact with the police and with the law enforcement.
What do you think? What's your reaction of Nancy Pelosi's comment just there that we played before, seeming to suggest that tragedies like yours are not enough to call the chaos at the border a crisis?
I'm disgusted by Nancy Pelosi. It is unbelievable that we have politicians in our country that do not care about our people. And she said it numerous times. She really doesn't care. It's not a crisis to her. It's not a problem. Well, Nancy Pelosi, we have thousands of Americans being killed every year by illegal immigrants. If that's not illegal aliens, and if that's not a problem, I don't know what is.
What do you think of media pundits who claim tragedies like yours are being used just to get a border wall built?
Come and live a day in my shoes and tell me that you're using me to build a wall. If the wall was there and the border wall was in place, my husband would be here. I know Pierce's family was just on the other day. Pierce would be here. We would be here because the people that are coming across illegally are the ones that are committing the crimes. We're not being used. We want you to hear our stories. We want you to know our family members. We want you to know how amazing they were and how they're no longer here because people that were here illegally came here illegally, not following laws, and continue to do so.
What does it feel like to live day to day, you and your family, with the idea that possibly your loved one could still be here if Washington had done something, to increase border security?
It is tragic, and I say it every day. You know, if there was border security, my husband would be here. I am a firm believer in that. If the wall was there, the guy who killed him would not have gotten through. If we did not have sanctuary cities, the town that my husband was killed in is a sanctuary city. If we did not have those, my husband would still be here.
Where is that city?
If we were not in,
where? Sorry,
it's Jupiter, Florida.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's a sanctuary city in Florida, in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
If that town was not a sanctuary city, my husband would be here. If the wall was here, he would be here. If we had stronger immigration enforcement, my husband would be here. If we wasn't catch and release, my husband would be here. There's so many factors that just can be fixed, and it's all fixed. It's all able to be fixed, and my husband would still be here. All the Americans would still be here that were killed by illegals if we just fix these problems.
Dawn, now, have you reached out to both Democrats and Republicans? What was the outcome?
So after the accident happened, they were going to give the criminal that killed my husband bond. They wanted to give him bond. And the judge had said to me, I'm not going to give him bond today, but this is a bondable offense. Well, the first thing I thought was, holy goodness, he's not here legally. So like you or I, he's not registered anywhere. We don't know where he lives. We don't even know what his real name is. We know nothing about this guy. He could just take off. So I reached out to my congresswoman at the time, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I couldn't even get 2 words in at the office. I called, I tried to explain my case to them to see if they would help me, and they hung up on me. They thought it was just not something they would want to be interested in helping. I did call Marco Rubio's office. I could not get a phone call through to him. They were not interested in speaking with me either. Senator Bill Nelson at the time was not interested in speaking with me. I did speak to Congressman Brian Mast, who personally called me back after he heard of the tragedy, and he's the one that had ICE in his office in Washington. They got ICE down to the jail and a detainer on him. Dawn
Witherspoon, again, we're so sorry for your loss. We welcome you back on the show to tell your story again. Thank you so much for coming on, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you.